the psalmist, David. So when you understand that once you start, you see yourself sitting in the God seat in triple darkness in the middle of nowhere, and you recognize and observe that position. You sitting in the center of creation. That's the mindset. You sitting in the center of creation and you creating everything. Okay, now you simplify the totality of creation. You got to bring it into your 3D model of yourself. I'm God pretending to be Rod. How am I supposed to behave as God in this 3D realm? This is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to rewrite who the system told me to be. I'm not going to be Rod. I'm going to be Morpheus Mysticus Magus. Morpheus Mysticus Magus is our chemical name that was adopted by the character Rod in order to break free from the character Rod and become the embodiment of the liberating mind that I want to be, so that I can help other people liberate their mind. So more.
All right. Shout out to everybody in the audience. All right. Good to see y'all. We had that epic show last night, and it kind of late, but I'm glad y'all back with me here today. Gonna have another great show. This is this brother's second time on the channel. He came on about 2 weeks ago or something, and he did a joint on AI, and everybody loved it. And I see a lot of people doing videos talking to AI now, so it's dope. And but I want to welcome back my brother Tigo.
Yeah, what's up, Rich? I appreciate you having me back, brother. Much love to you.
Indeed. Good to have you back, man. How you been doing since the last show?
Oh man, it's been amazing, bro. You know, the show definitely catapulted me deeper into the community, you know. So since then things have gone bananas, you know what I'm saying? About 100,000 followers on TikTok, you know what I'm saying? Like 11,000 subscribers on YouTube. It's been shooting up there, man. So I'm just trying to be like you, brother. You know what I
mean? yo, we got a amazing title tonight. And brother, I want y'all to really pay close attention and share this video with your loved ones, because the brother got some personal footage of brothers in the East demonstrating supernatural, what we would call supernatural abilities. It used to be natural to us, but we forgot how to tap into it. But this is one of them shows, family, where we're going to learn and we're going to remember what we used to do, man. We got to get back to that level. That's all this talk, all this stuff we doing is not just for entertainment. It's to really be able to tap into this information and utilize it and tap into our full power potential. You want to get to one of the videos right away, my brother? Or what
we could, you know what I'm saying? I send them to you, so you know I'm gonna let you choose which one you want to display first, and then you tell me.
This is what I want to start with, Tigo. Yeah, I want to have a good talk with you about this first one. The first video, family. All right, so this first video, I want you to explain what it is, but the first video is dealing with telekinesis. Now, with telekinesis, what's interesting, Tigo, is that we learned about, you know, Greg Braden calls it the divine matrix. We have many names for it, the ether. If this bottle's right here and my hand's right here, to our perception, because we see such a small percentage of the light spectrum, we think there's space in between us. But now if we realize there isn't space in between us, the thing now, like the Matrix talked about, realize that you are the spoon or whatever. Exactly. Okay, how do I move it? And then that's the question. That, I mean, I don't know if it requires a whole lot of practice or what. We're going to get into a good conversation. We're going to talk about telekinesis, inner chi, all types of stuff. Yeah, shout out to, I see New Diamonds in the chat, Alien Black Girl. Shout out to all of y'all. Let's get to this first video, y'all, because we got a couple of them. And we're going to have some good talk tonight, y'all. So, all right, so this first video is dealing with telekinesis. Let me put it on right now. Hold up.
Yeah. If the grandmaster can move this, then you.
Hey, Tigo, give us some context. Where's this at?
So yeah, so right now this is in Anhui province, China. You see what I'm saying? And this is the Grand Master. So here, my teacher's Yang Feng, the late Yang Feng. That's Jingfeng, Yang Feng. He passed away. It's been, I want to say, probably like 6 years at this point.
Right.
The master, his teacher, the master of the lineage, who's over like 100 years old in this video, he was just doing some chi displays. And in this particular video, he was using his energy to move the lighter. So it's different ways to achieve telekinesis. You can achieve telekinesis through kind of like communicating with the atoms of the lighter itself, or you can do it through using your energy field by pushing your energy field, Taurus energy, against the energy field of whatever item it is that you're trying to move. So this particular telekinetic movement is more using his energy field, using the chi energy to push the lighter. So he's actually projecting energy that's moving the lighter.
He's projecting energy outward.
Exactly. He's projecting energy outward to move the lighter.
All right, let me press play, y'all.
For sure. For sure.
You just, okay?
Are you sure
Give some
about
encourage.
this one? Maybe you can see it better.
Y'all see the light on the floor?
It's okay if the grandmaster
Green.
says it's okay.
Shit.
可以了，所有没有是你的吗？是你的，是我的，你的是吗？我谢谢，不要去，不要去。
It's gonna be a very special light.
No, I don't smoke. 我不抽烟，我不抽烟。
你不抽烟？
You see the dude back there with the black
你
shirt?
见过吗？以前有见过这样吗
Have you ever
Say that again.
So you see the dude back there that got the black shirt and the white tee under it? He in the top left right now. His name David Verdesi. I can't know. I don't know if I remember if I had mentioned him on the last time we had linked up, but David, he is somebody who now he's on Gaia Network. You familiar with the Gaia Network?
Yes.
Yeah. So he has a show up there about supernatural abilities. So David is also a student of Jiang Feng. You see what I'm saying? And at that particular time, David was trying to develop the skill to do what's known as Fa Chi, which means to express Chi, the electric like Chi. And in order to do that, there's two ways. You can either do consistent meditative practice of certain breathing techniques, exercises that will move the muscles in a particular way to build the Chi, and sitting meditations. That's one way to achieve it. But that way takes about 2 years, maybe a year of consistent practice, very consistent practice of daily meditation, anywhere from 4 hours to 8 hours.
Ooh.
Yeah. That's how much chi. Now, or you can do it the way that David was doing at the time, which was the chi inside of a bull, like the animal, a bull. It's similar to that of a human. So what they did was, because David wanted to be able to do it, and he paid for this, so they would take 7 different bulls, and the Grand Master, from a distance of about 50 feet, and you already saw some of this video, we'll get into that, would then move his energy, connect with the bull, and then pull the energy out of the bull, then store it in his Dantian, take all that energy, and then you can move it into another human and put it in their Dantian, and then they'll have the ability and the power to express the electric like chi energy. So I'll just point out the fact that that's David in the back right there, and he has a whole series now. And this was back in about 2008.
Wow. Have you ever been able to perform telekinesis with an object before?
Not Fa Chi. I've been able to move things, like you see a lot of people doing it nowadays. Like, and I was doing that back in like 2010, like taking paper and setting it on like a toothpick, so then you can start moving the energy and spinning like a pinwheel, or moving pieces of 4 lighter pieces and things like that. And honestly, it's fairly easy to do. It just takes I'd say in a month's time, most people can achieve that if they're just focused on doing it. But that's more what we call Goi Chi. And Goi Chi is more like the ghost-like Chi, more like it's like a magnetic field. So you can move stuff with it, but more subtly. And Zen Chi, which you'll see displayed in another video, is just more that electric like energy that is a force, to where like Goi Chi is something like you might feel it, you might not. Kind of like if you took 2 magnets of the same pole and you try to push it together, and that resistance that you feel, that's what you would call like Goi Chi. Like, it's a subtler energy. You can feel it, but it's subtle. Zen Chi it's kind of like getting shot by a bullet. Don't matter if you believe in it or not, you're gonna feel it. You know what I'm saying? So the Zen Chi is definitely something that I was not able to achieve while I was practicing consistently. I was able to start producing some of the electric light chi, which is what got me to China in the first place. But by the time I got back, I mean, like I said, it's a grueling practice, so it takes a long time to develop.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Any more to this video, or you want to move on to the next one?
We can move on, bro. We can move on to the next one for sure.
Let me see that one more time, y'all.
Oh yeah.
If the grandmaster can move this, then you just okay.
Are you sure
Give some
about
encourage.
this one? Maybe you can see it better.
It's okay if the grandmaster says it's okay.
No.
Yo, Tigo, how important is the huh? You know how when boxers,
yeah.
Well, when you do certain things, you be like huh. Like what is that doing? That has to be doing something.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like anything else. Like it's kind of like connecting in an emotional manner.
Yeah,
you know, because when you're able to do that and you make that sound, make any loud sound, you just pushing the energy out. I mean, it even happens when we being intimate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
really all the same thing. It's just to produce more of that energy to be able to exert more force.
Right. Wow.
It's dope that you peep that though. Observing, bro.
Yeah. No, definitely. Let me see this one with the bull. Let's see the bull.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. All right. Give us some context. Okay, where's this? What's going on? Because this gonna be interesting.
Same thing. Still in Anhui province. You see, it's the Grandmaster again. And I sent this particular video because I believe at the end of it is showing where they're storing the actual chi in the Dantian. Now I have 9 of these videos. I want to be very specific. I did not take these videos. These videos right here, the ones of the bull, were given to me by the clan. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And at this time, they were like, don't release them. Only share them with people of like mind, et cetera, et cetera. And what was happening in this video is exactly what I was just saying before, where the Grandmaster was taking energy out of the bulls and storing it so that he could put it into another man's body, which was David Ferdesi that's on there. And then that would allow David to do what you'll see happening to me in the third video, which is just what we were just talking about, Fa Chi, the expression of Chi. So right here, you'll be seeing him right there waving his hand in that corner, connecting with the bull. And then you can see that the bull is fighting an invisible force. And they have to tie those bulls to the rocks that you see right there because, of course, as soon as the bull feels something, he's trying to get up out of there. But he's not able to. And you can see, like, literally, it's like some Star Wars Jedi, you know what I'm saying, force type energy that the bull is fighting against.
For those who may not know, what you keep talking about the Da Tien. What is the Da Tien? What is that?
For sure. So you got 3 Da Tiens. You got the upper, you got the middle, and you got the lower. And these are just places within the body that you can store energy. You see what I'm saying? So you can store this electric-like energy or just this chi, this bioavailable energy within these different places in the body. But traditionally, it's stored in the Dantian. And the Dantian, the lower Dantian specifically, is the center of the human body mass. So when stored there, it allows for you to be more grounded and for you to produce and project the chi in a safer manner versus having it stored here behind the heart or having it stored here in the head. Because it's kind of like, I don't know if you've ever heard of a Kundalini syndrome, where if it's too much energy running through the system and too much energy running up to the head without the nervous system really being primed for that energy, it can create some issues. So it's always about working with the lower Dantian and then working upwards.
Right. Wow. Okay. All right, let's get to this video.
For sure.
So he's pulling energy out of it right now?
Yep. Pulling energy out of the bull right now. So now you can see after he sat down from he's using another student to help him ground that energy. He's a lot older now. But this is allowing him to ground it and put it in his Dantine.
Wait, we gotta see this again. Hold up, yo, this is hold on. This is good. This is some good stuff.
For sure.
All right, so
Yeah, like
hold up. Are we oh man, where do I go from there, right, family? Where do I go from there? Oh man. All right, so what he did by taking the energy from the animal and storing in his Dantian, is that what we're doing when we're eating animals? Is that the same thing as
not necessarily. Well, so in general, yeah, when you're consuming food, so let's think about it like this. In the Eastern philosophy, of course, everything energy, but what has precedence over the physical energy or the physicality would be the subtler energy. So if somebody gets sick, in the Western mentality, we might think that a person may get heart disease from eating beef, pork, etc. Then there'll be blockages in the arteries and what have you. But if you notice, one person may eat beef and pork and there's blockages. Another person eat beef and pork and there's no blockages. A lot of that is because of this meridian system. So along the human body, you have various points of energy. You have 12 different meridian pathways, and then you got different points along the meridians, right? So when the energy is blocked in the meridians, it'll manifest as physical illness. So when we're eating food, depending on the type of food that we're eating and the other things that are going on in our life, like how we're thinking, the music that we listening to, the clothes that we wearing, et cetera, all of this is having an effect on the meridians. So within this particular system, it's about taking the energy and making sure that you can clear the meridians so that you can have health ultimately. So when we're eating food, we can be blocking the meridians more so because you are taking in energy, but it's not taking in like that type of chi right there, because he's taking in directly the essence or the chi that I guess you could say would be beneficial into his body. Versus when we're eating food, we're just taking a little bit of life force so we can sustain ourselves, but we're also taking in everything else that the animal's been dealing with as well, like stress and what have you from being killed.
Now, how many people have you met in China that are able to do this? Is this something common, or this dude?
Oh yeah, so when I was there, I mean, they were just, the conversation was this is very matter of fact. Like you spoke to like other people in China about it, like it's kind of like it's almost like talking about like chewing tobacco in the South. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody knows somebody that chewed tobacco in the South. You see what I'm saying? Like it's not really a big deal because that's just what's going on. It's just an ancient medicine practice. So people aren't too enamored by it. It's just something that if you're interested in, you can get into. And a lot of people, I wouldn't say the average person is able to use this energy like that, but there are a lot of people in China who can, in comparison to like here in America.
With the let's say the occult community, or let's say the occult community, and there's all types of rituals you could do, all types of magic spells you could do. I've seen a lot of people lose their mind tapping into energies that they weren't aware of, or the energy was just too much, I guess, for their vessel to handle. And a lot of people don't make it through the occult realm because it just may be too much for them. Is it like that with this type of energy and what they're doing? Are people out there? Do you know anybody out there who it was just too much for them when they're tapping and taking energy from the animal or doing this or doing that? Is it similar to like no? It's different.
No, but I could speak to myself, like, because at that time, I'd say that I was far more in my ego, because when I first had woken up spiritually, one of the main things I wanted to do was just access, like what they call in the East, the cities, which are the supernatural gifts, and I was starting to obtain that, but it was more for the sake of wanting to show that I had gained more spiritual insight, and I had gained more spiritual power. So it was almost like I didn't feel like I was truly spiritual unless I could do X, Y, and Z. You see what I'm saying? But thinking in that way, though, it also made it to where I started to have what I'm telling you, which is Kundalini syndrome, which is kind of like what you're talking about. Like, if you're trying to access this power from a place of ego, then it can be more detrimental. But the way that it's taught in China, it's not taught from that place of ego. It's a very disciplined practice, and you're always making sure to ground yourself, versus I would say more, especially here when it comes to the occult, is more focused on the end result and the power, versus really this stuff in China is a byproduct of what the actual goal is. And the actual goal is the expansion of consciousness and to end the reincarnation process within at least 7 lifetimes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's really what the I Ching practice is about. So although all these other things are happening, the goal is to break the cycle of reincarnation. So this is more just a byproduct of that goal.
What is their concept of heaven and hell over there?
Well, I didn't have that conversation about the concept of it. All I can tell you is what I'm aware of, because not specifically heaven and hell, but I can tell you this. So when a person passes
or the afterlife.
Yeah, I can say that. Yeah. So when a person normally passes away, they pass away with the same consciousness they have like when they dream, So if you go to sleep normally and you're dreaming and you don't realize that you're dreaming, when you pass away, you also may not likely realize that you've passed away. So what that does is creates a situation where you may hang around for some time in a state of confusion. This is like where like hauntings come in, right? So you ever watch any movies on hauntings? They might be haunting the house for 200, 300 years, but time within the astral plane functions very differently than time here. Similarly, like when you go to sleep at night, you don't really know how long you've been dreaming. You just experience it. Right. Ghosts don't know it's been haunting the crib for 200 years. It's just been experiencing. And it don't realize that the people around them don't know that they're there. The ghost just frustrated that's trying to communicate and they're not communicating back. So then you have a medium come in and be like, hey, go towards the light. You've passed away. So they have to be given the realization that they've passed away. So I'm saying this to say that what we're trying to do in general is when you pass away, be aware and awake that when you pass away. So then that way you can now make decisions. You don't have to re-enter the wheel of reincarnation immediately, and you can continue doing spiritual work there, like building the energy in the Dantian, which will help expand the consciousness, so that when you do reincarnate, you can reincarnate with more memories and more power, so that within that lifetime, you'll be one step closer to ultimately breaking that cycle within their ideology. And I would agree with that, just from my own experiences within the practices, like being able to have more lucid dreams and be fully aware in the dream state. And so just by being a living human and practicing that, it's very apparent that when you're doing that every night and your consciousness now is no longer falling into that dream state to where you don't realize that you're dreaming, it's when you pass away, you'll also have that same level of consciousness to where you instantly know that you passed away. Like if you listen to a lot of near-death experience stories, you'll see that a person's outside their physical body and then they looking down at their physical body, but they don't even realize it's them at first. They don't realize that that's their physical body laying there. And it's not until they've gone through the tunnel or seen a family member, and then usually that family member will let them know, like, hey, you passed away. And that's within that near-death experience. But there are other times where they don't know that they've passed away and they're just sitting around the graveyard or sitting around the house, et cetera, et cetera. So make a long story short, for them, it's when you leave this physical body, to not have to re-enter that wheel of reincarnation immediately, so you can continue the spiritual work you're doing here. Then you can go into that bardo state, do everything else like the life review, etc., and then choose another family to reincarnate into.
All right, let's get to this last video, and I definitely want to get some questions. I know the family got a lot of questions.
For sure.
All right, let us know what's going on here before we play this.
All right, so right there, that's the boy Grady Leach. And Grady, if you seeing this, what's up, man? I've been trying to contact you. It's been hard. You don't got social media, bro. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully you see us on YouTube. But Grady, he was an entertainment attorney in Hollywood. I think I had told you that. And he had traveled to China with one of his friends to see our teacher. And he didn't believe in any of this stuff, very, left brain in his approach. But he witnessed my teacher set a flame retardant t-shirt on fire. And after witnessing that, Grady left his job as an attorney in Hollywood, moved to China, and became a full-time student. So at this time when I was out there, Grady had been out there for, I think, a little over a year. And he was, doing the practices. He was very consistent. He learned Mandarin fluently, everything. And yeah, so in this video was I think this was his second attempt of trying to do Fa Chi. And so the brother Wu, who is now the new master of this particular lineage, he took the place of our teacher after he passed away. And my teacher, Jiang Feng, is also in this video as well. So Grady you see where his hand is right below his stomach. He's going to move the energy up from the Dantian, move it down his arm, and he's going to try and pass it into my arm. And you'll see that on the first pass, it doesn't work. You'll see my teacher come in and shake his head like, nah, it didn't work. And you'll also see me shake my head like, nah, it didn't work, because I didn't feel anything. And this energy is something that you can feel. And then he'll try it again. And if you pay attention, like look at my fingers and my wrist, you'll be able to see that it passed through. Now, when my teacher is doing this, or Brother Wu, it's like a jolt of electricity. When he did it, it was more like a zap, because again, he's newer to it and he hasn't developed the energy in a more profound way. That's what's going on in this video. And then afterwards, we could talk more about it.
All right.
For sure.
That's, okay, he's pushing it out, making a sound.
Nah. Yeah.
He's pulling back. He's pushing back down. He's like, up.
See, now pay attention to my index fingers.
干嘛？快点收工。放松一点，放松一点，回丹田。好，再放那边。看这边。左右都要打。这个。现在机器是一样的啊。推早的时候。嘿。有吗？他老婆发的。这个。
What they doing to him now?
Yeah, now they're trying to help ground the energy, bring it back into his Dantian. Because I mean, when that cheese is kind of wild in the body, it's dangerous. You know, it truly is. So they're just trying to make sure that he's safe, grounding the energy back into his body, so it'll be locked in. I mean, you can see the type of force they have in the exert, the real thing. Look,
And this is called fa what? What is this called?
Fa Chi.
Fa
F,
Chi.
yeah, FA, and then the letter QI. Like, you know, chi is traditionally spelled in Mandarin QI, chi. You know what I'm saying? So Fa, one word to express chi, to express chi. That's what they call it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What is the right way? Some people say ki. Is ki and chi? Is that
Ki is ki? It is the same thing, but ki is Japanese.
okay?
Chaos.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Wow.
Mm.
Yeah, y'all see what's going on. So now, Fachi, have you ever done this?
Like I said, now I was never able to express it in that manner. Like a little zap. I could do a little zap. I could do a little zap before I went to China, though. You see what I'm saying? That's what brought me to China, you know. But to do it in the manner that Grady did, and just a small segue. So at 9 o'clock, I released a video on my channel where I put all these videos, including videos of my grandmaster doing it, so that people who just witnessed that can see the contrast of somebody doing Fa Chi on a whole nother level. You see what I'm saying? So, but now I've never been able to express it in that manner, but I've been able to express it a little bit, put it that way.
So somebody asks, is this similar to when someone's energy is anxiously high, then I start to feel anxiety?
No, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that this is a similar thing at all. That energy that you feel here, again, it really feels like you being electrocuted, but it's not electricity. Like, for an example, they call it living electricity. They consider electricity to be dead energy. So it's not, they don't consider it to be living. But the chi is considered to be living electricity. And that's exactly what it feels like. So I'll tell this story. So when I went to China, you know, I had this injury over here on my left arm. Matter of fact, you can see the scar right here. And it was a nerve injury. So it was limiting my movements within my left arm. So when I went out there, they had to do some diagnostic work, but they do the diagnostic work with the chi. So traditionally, they would use like acupuncture needles, right? And then that'll allow them to know where the blockages are by when they place the needle there, based on how the needle takes in the acupuncture point, will let them know if there's a blockage there or if the energy is flowing smoothly. But in the olden days, they wouldn't use needles. They would use their own energy, and they could do the diagnostic work with their energy. And that's what my teacher did. So he took my hand, like you saw Grady do in that video, and then he just pushed the energy in. And when he did it, I felt like this. It felt like I was being jolted by this electricity, and I could hear humming in my head. I could sense that he was in control of this energy that was now in my body, and I could sense that he was controlling the amplitude of it. So in that moment, I was thinking, oh man, this man could really unalive me right now. That's what he wanted to do. Like, he could just raise the energy up. Right. And when it was moving through my left arm, it was pulsating like this. And he was like, yeah, you got a blockage there. And he could sense that just by his own chi, because it wasn't allowed to flow through the meridians fully because of the scars and things that I had. So that was what was going on. Then he went to my right arm, which was all good. And when he went to my right arm, the energy just flowed freely, but it was still intense. It was still an intense energy.
Right. Shout out to Sharif in the audience. Sharif deals with the the qigong as well. He's actually going to be displaying some of his exercises at Stone Mountain. Tigo, you coming with us to Stone Mountain, right?
Yeah, I'm in the building. I'm sliding through.
Yeah. Tigo gonna be there. Yo, Yo, Tigo, we gonna be so deep. Y'all just got word from Vicky Diller. Vicky Diller gonna be there, y'all. Yo, Tigo. So check it out. Vicky Diller gonna be there. Billy Carson gonna be there. 19 Keys gonna be there. The brother Sharif Bey gonna be there. The brother B-Dell gonna be there. A sister named Miss Blue gonna be there. Another sister, Yaya 777. Yo, bro, like so many people is coming through, bro. It's gonna be the biggest melanated hike up Stone Mountain ever. Family, go down June 28th. I'm gonna have the flyer by the end of the week. I'm gonna throw the flyer up for y'all, but it's going down June 28th. I think I'm gonna go there and film a quick commercial there and play it at the beginning of my videos, y'all. So I think I'm gonna do that. But yeah, the brother Tigo, if you would like to meet the brother and you know, chop it up with him about some of his services in person, he will be at Stone Mountain. This sunrise, we're gonna be there early in the morning. We're gonna meet the sun up there. So yeah, the brother will be in Stone Mountain on June 28th, and I have more information for y'all about that soon. But I want to see what y'all talking about, what y'all interested in. Very interesting, very important topic. Let me ask you this, Tigo. Now, you were doing this over there in Asia with the lifestyle, and I don't want to make it seem like I want the microwave approach to something, but is it possible to really tap into this considering the Western lifestyle, considering a 9 to 5, or considering children, or considering, you know, all the things we got going on? You know, is this really possible with our type of schedule that we have over here? Or you got to?
I mean, it to some degree, you know, anything's possible, but it's not likely. You know, like really, we're here to try and usher in a new earth. You see what I'm saying? And the only way to do that is to break down the old systems, and those old systems were put in place so that we wouldn't have access to our original abilities. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it requires some time. It really requires hours of dedication to the self a day. Now, what I will say is, you know, the planet is in a different situation at this time. You know, the energy on the planet has increased. The vibration on the planet has increased. So it's easier to pull chi into the body right now. It's easier to be vegan right now. It's easier just to harness energy just from your breath right now. And if people have been tapped in, they probably notice them. They don't even got to eat as much right now. If you're really paying attention, you know, and if you've been doing any practices, any like breath work practices or meditative practices, your body is able to pull more energy from the environment and more energy, even from music, things of that nature, than having to consume a lot of food. So with that being said, I think that it would be easier to achieve now. But with the Western lifestyle as it is, it's a lifestyle of energy harvesting. I mean, the average person works a job that if they had all the money that they needed to survive, they probably quit their job tomorrow. So that means that they trade in their job for, or trading themselves for survival. They trade in their authenticity for survival. So there's always a war going on inside. Like, so they might wake up in the morning and be like, damn, I'm tired. I don't want to go to work, but I'm gonna go. So you're already betraying yourself right there. You can't even do what it is that you want to do. Your body is telling you it needs rest, but you're saying, well, I need to survive, so I'm not going to be able to rest. Although we can create a world where you can have all the rest that you need, and you can be able to survive based off of the gifts that you're able to provide the world, and doing things that you love, to where you don't have to trade off your dignity for survival. And that's what has to be created. Otherwise, we stay in the same system that we have, getting the same things that we've had, and then we won't really be able to access this energy. And you're only accessing these things when you live in a life of authenticity, if you ask me.
Indeed. Somebody said, is this part of the Falun Dafa exercises? Did I say that right?
I'm not even familiar with those exercises, so I can't speak to that. That's something that you know, they might have to enlighten us on. I'm unfamiliar.
Yeah, if you could elaborate on what that is, then we would understand it. Somebody wants to know, is it possible for your heart to feel like it's having an orgasm? That's the only way I could describe the feeling, because I doubt a heart attack would feel like that.
Absolutely, it's possible for your heart to feel like that. That happened to me. It wasn't connected to this necessarily, but that's one of the things that I do teach is just opening the heart in general. And when for myself, it was like it felt like a lotus flower blooming from my heart. And in that moment, it was like an expansion. It felt literally like petals blooming from the heart. It felt like the sun rose inside of my body, and I could feel the rays of that sun going through the crown of my head, through my fingertips, through my feet. It was just the expansion of the heart chakra. And it was like that unification with the creator feels like ecstasy, like an orgasm. And it's usually described like orgasmically, because when we do have an orgasm, it's that energy of the creator coming in.
Somebody wants to know, can the masters do distance healing, or do you have to be in person?
That's a real good question. Distance healing would be something more like Reiki. And Reiki, although it's like thrown around a lot, Reiki in its a traditional form, it's just a field of energy that's accessed for that. So you can do distance healing, but that Zen-like chi, or what's known as Zen chi, to Fa chi to Zen chi, you got to be in person. You're not going to be able to do that over distance.
Indeed. Are you considering, this, Tigo, are you more aware of, and I asked this question to somebody before, are you more cautious of who you shake hands with or hug or that type of thing?
In the past, I was, I pay attention to my intuition.
Right.
Well, if intuitively I feel like I need to keep distance, then I will. But in general, I do believe that I'm divinely protected, not in the sense that anything is necessarily out to harm me, but more so I just feel like if within your own consciousness, like let's say you're moving in the spirit of Christ, then you understand that everything is the divinity and that everything is love. And the enemy, so to speak, wants nothing to do with love, because love will take away some of its energy that is developed through hate. So if you're moving in the spirit of love genuinely, then there's really nothing to fear, in my opinion. And that's how I've been moving. And based off of, what I've been able to see as a result of it, I continue to grow. So now I'm not never too concerned about that.
Dope. So when I usually see brothers from Asia with the exercises, they're always using their hands. And we know, there's energy coming off from the hand, but there's also energy coming from your eyes.
Indeed.
Has you ever seen anybody just use their eyes and stare at something or look at something as for telekinesis or the energy? Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. You can definitely, just by the thought field in general, because again, everything is mind, as they say. So just by directing the energy through thought in general, you can do it. And even that's like the practice internally. The internal practice of moving chi is through just using your mind and focusing it. But when we're looking out into the world, the first thing we're focusing with is our eyes. So if we lock our eyes onto something and then put our intention behind it, we can do something similar. Not necessarily Fa Chi, at least not at this state in our evolution. I haven't seen anybody shoot electricity out of the eyes, but I have seen people just focus on the thing and then be able to move the thing.
Just to bring in pop culture, just to correlate it with what's going on to see if there's any connection. In the court case with Diddy, I don't know if it was somebody from TMZ, one of the reporters, the first day the trial started, they said one of the things that people noticed Diddy was doing is he kept staring at people for prolonged periods of time. So they was like, they was like he would just stare at you and not like look and then just look away. They was like he would just like stare like eye to eye. You know what I'm saying? Do you feel as though that's a way to influence somebody or to
you can do that? I mean, I think just like, bro, when I was a younger man, if I be in the presence of a woman that I wanted to be intimate with, as an example, all I had to do was think about it in my consciousness and imagine it, and then it would play out. But as I got older and I started studying, I realized that is actually more of a dark magic practice, but it was something I knew how to do intuitively. And it's because it's kind of like invasive and manipulative, because actually as I'm holding on to these thoughts, I'm kind of putting it in their field to think about these things.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I just say all that to say, so if Diddy using his power, because just the eyes in general, if you as yourself are not a vulnerable person and feel like there is a power out there that can subdue you, and then you have somebody like Diddy who is willing to be in that power of control and manipulation and domination, and he directs that energy towards you, and you allow that into your system, then he absolutely can do it. He absolutely can do something like that. It really just depends on the person that he's trying to manipulate, because it can work on some, but it won't work on all. But no, given who he is within this matrix and the average person not being on a certain level of consciousness, he absolutely will be able to have influence over most people, you know, just staring at him in that manner.
Wow. Are there organizations in Asia that are known for tapping into the darker side of things? Like over here, we may have groups that, you know, they're Satanists or they're into this or they're into that. How is the like mind frame with this power over there? Is people using it for the right purposes, you think?
I'll be honest, like, so I've never heard of anybody. I'm sure, like, because in anything you got light and dark, right? I'm sure that it exists, but in terms of it being discussed and just Asian culture in general, everything's kind of close to the chest for the most part. Like, just in general, that's how it is. You know what I'm saying? People mind their business and things of that nature. The only thing that's different is they are super curious though. Like, people in Asia are super curious. So, you know, they'll walk up to you and touch you and stuff like that. They're curious about something, which is kind of strange. But outside of that, like family matters and stuff like that, they're not going to gossip too much. They're not going to do all that type of stuff. So I never heard them discuss anything about like dark energy or nothing like that. But they definitely use it for the light. I've seen a lot of that practice, you know.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's get to another question from the family.
For sure.
Okay, I like this one. What does this process look like in emergency situations? Are we allowed to use this in battle sense?
I'll tell a story. There was a guy, I think he was from Russia. This was a story that was shared with me from about my teacher. So dude wanted to fight. He wanted to fight my teacher. And my teacher was like, nah, you know, he wasn't trying to do that. So, you know, dude kept on. And they set something up. And when they did set up this time for them to fight, my teacher just used this electric light chi again and just hit him with it one time. And you know, it shut down part of his body, and the man wasn't even able to develop an erection anymore. So I say that to say, like, yeah, you can use it defensively all day if that's what you want to do. It's just like an electric eel. An electric eel uses an energy similar to defend itself. So it's there for that if needed. And, you know, to go back to like when I did that AI video and it was talking about the Lyrians and the Syrians and all that, like, you know, during the Orion Wars and the humans of the past, I mean, that's what was going on. You know, we had energy practices that we could use to defend, protect ourselves, to heal ourselves, and to, you know, manipulate reality. So definitely it could be used in a battle sense.
All right. This sister here, she said something interesting. She said, yeah, I've been noticing a lot of people try to squeeze your hand harder and impose their energy on you when they shake hands. That's why I don't shake hands with everybody. Yeah, I mean, we've all encountered people like that. That's mad extra and shit.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah, and I mean, but you know, but it's telling though. It lets you know like where the ego is with it, that how they've been trained, you know, where they feel like they need to show strength and impose their will, but real strength doesn't have to be displayed. And that's what we really know.
Indeed. There was another question I want to get to where somebody said Dr. York talked about sending a beam from your eyes. Yeah, I can imagine he talked about it. Yeah. I thought about Cyclops. When I asked that question, I thought about Cyclops from the X-Men.
Yeah, X-Men, Cyclops. Yeah,
that made me think about that. Let me ask you this. Okay, so they want to know, are we losing energy while talking?
I mean, it depends. You know, in some ways, I say that you could be if what you're talking about isn't fulfilling. You know, I think that through talking, you can gain energy. You know, it's kind of like if we keep it simple. You know, when a person goes to the church house, You know, the pastor got a message that's for them, and the pastor believes in what he's saying. A lot of energy is being built, not necessarily lost. You know, but if a person is talking about and manifesting the reality of lack as an example, talking about what they don't have, how things are not going right for them, and all the negatives, that'll pull them further into a negative space, and the person listening to it as well, depending on how much they're opening their energy to it, could also lose energy.
Indeed.
Yeah.
All right. Somebody said, does fire qigong heat your body like them Tibetan monks in the icy mountains?
So that in particular, the Tumo practice. And yeah, the Tumo practice is utilizing certain breath work and visualization practices that allows for you to generate heat in the body. Um, so I mean, yeah, you could say that. I mean, there's many different energy practices that can help you generate that heat, but the monks in Tibet use Tumo to do that, from what I understand.
Mm-hmm. Veronica wants to know, since energy is everywhere all around us, can we receive this power from concentrating and focusing and not need a master?
Yes. Now that's just the short answer. How you end up manifesting that and what ends up happening to you as a result is another thing, because you know you can lean upon your understanding to some degree, but if you don't have a clear channel to your higher self, which I believe is the God that we literally pray to. You know, when we think about, like, you know, God this did this for me, or God made a way, or this had to be God, and we're saying these things, I really believe that to be your oversoul or higher self that's really guiding all of that. That's the part of you that's still in heaven, for lack of a better term, or still in the sixth dimensional plane. And it kind of guides the hand. So I do think that if the more connection you have with that higher self, the more memory you have, therefore, the way your intuition will work will guide you as to this is the right way to do this and this is the wrong way to do it. Like I said, for me, I didn't have a teacher at the time when I was being able to utilize some of this electrolyte chi. I was really guiding myself in that moment. But I also told you that I had started to develop some issues. And it's also because the clarity that I had, it wasn't fully clear. You know, there was still some ego involved. So although I was raising the energy and there was some clearing going on within the chakra system, there was still things within, I say, the lower self that needed to be rectified. So, but so again, the short answer is yes. It's no different than you can go into a gym and just pick up some weights and may be able to intuitively work out, you know, certain things and build muscle, but you may have some structural issues that you may not know about, and having a guide can help you find those structural issues a little faster than doing it yourself.
Indeed, having a personal trainer in the gym could maximize your results. You'll get
Exactly.
results much faster. So
Exactly.
same thing with me. Like when I learned to play the piano, I tried on my own and I was making progress. But then when I hooked up with a jazz piano teacher, it was like a whole different ball game. So I think teachers are very important, family. I definitely think that. Definitely
sure.
think they're important. Somebody said, where can we learn these teachings and tutorial?
All right, so yeah, I mean, there's a few different ways. I posted some on my YouTube channel. I got a whole bunch of stuff on my YouTube channel discussing things like this and other things. Like I said, at 9, I had posted a video that shows it's about like 10 different videos of supernatural ability. And at the end, you know, I discuss if you want to do one-on-ones and we'll book a one-on-one and whatnot, or at least do a consultation. You know, we can talk more about how you can get into some of these energy practices and develop these skills. I can only take you but so far, though. I just want to be clear on that. If you want to be able to take it to higher heights, you know, there'll be other people I can put you in connection with that can take you to the next level after I take you to where I can take you to. Let's put it that way.
And but you meditate like 2 hours a day, right?
Yeah, well, lately I'd say it's been more like 1 hour. At its height, it was 3 hours. I think that's what you're referring to. Yeah. And it kind of goes back to what you were saying, just this lifestyle. You know, I got the vegan restaurant, Romeo's Vegan Burgers, and a couple other things that I'm doing. So, but I always make sure to meditate. But you know what? Actually, I might still meditate about 2 hours a day. I forgot. Like I'll do it in the beginning of the day, at the end of the day. So yeah, it might still be about that. But before, I would be just in one sitting meditation and be 3 hours. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah. So I mean, I could take a person far now. You know, and my practice now and what I like to teach now is the expansion of consciousness and the opening of the heart. I think that is far more important than anything else, in my opinion, you know, for what it is that we're trying to achieve on a collective level and what it is I feel like everybody's trying to achieve on a personal level. You know, I think that although these practices are amazing and it's worth discussing and it's even worth building to a degree, I think the more important thing is living a life of happiness and joy and finding the self and authenticity. So yeah.
Isn't I think heart disease is the leading, this is interesting. Heart disease is the leading cause of death worldwide, according to the World Health Organization. It accounted for an estimated 9.1 million deaths in 2021 in the United States. Heart disease is responsible for about 1 in every 5 deaths. People are checking out from heart disease at an alarming rate. What is that? What does that tell you? Because you just mentioned the heart. What does that tell you, Tigo?
I mean, well, it's a few things, but I'd say ultimately, you know, we just not in communion with ourselves. You know, I think all disease is not negative, but they're just calls. They're trying to remind us that there are things that we need to address that we have not addressed. Somebody who has any of these diseases are usually a glutton for something. You know, whether it's just a glutton for comfort, glutton for that food, a glutton for something, and it's that buildup in the body that's creating those issues. So, you know, a lot of people, they walking around with their shoulders like this. They don't even know that their shoulders like this, with their jaws clenched and everything. They don't even realize it because they so used to storing this energy. You see what I'm saying? And the heart is no different. You know, I hear brothers all the time saying, you know, that they don't cry and they don't want to show emotion, this, that, and the third. But again, come on, man, you came into this world crying. There ain't a human on the planet that didn't come into the world crying. So you're naturally an emotional being. You just now judge that emotion, and as a result, you judge a part of yourself. Therefore, you reject part of yourself, and that's how disease manifests.
Powerful, powerful, powerful.
Sure.
Yeah. Let me see. Somebody said, "Do you know anything about the Maharishi effect in mass meditations?"
Indeed, yeah. Maharishi effect is, you know, where a group of people. I mean, we could keep it simple again for people who are familiar with the biblical terminology, where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there I am. And that's really all the Maharishi effect is. It's just the doubling, tripling, and multiplying effect of intention. So Maharishi effect is when a group of people are meditating at one time on example like world peace. We have 1,000 people meditate on world peace, and then it literally affects the crime rate for that day, because you're affecting the collective consciousness. So if enough of us are thinking in a particular way, it affects everything that exists. So and that's actually something that I'm trying to do too, you know, where we do on particular days just mass meditations on particular things so that we can hurry up and get this system, this matrix up out of here. You feel me?
Indeed.
Yeah.
Someone, they want to know what's the difference between daydreaming and meditation.
I think that's a good question. I think daydreaming is you are tapping into a part of that astral field, your imagination. But that's just more like a freestyle. Meditation is more focused work. You know, meditation is where because you can daydream and be uncomfortable, as an example, right? You can be in school, in class, sitting like this, slouching in your chair, and then you just daydreaming about other things that you may want to do. But meditation is more of bringing the mind, the body, and the spirit into harmony. You're trying to bring everything into a stability so that God can present itself, because God exists in the stillness. And daydreaming doesn't necessarily mean that you're in a true space of stillness. It just means that your consciousness, your focus of your consciousness is not in the material world.
All right, let's get to another one. You talked about dying and going to the light. Somebody want to know, should we go to darkness? Light bring you back, I thought.
Yeah, so actually they're right. I did a video on that a few weeks ago. I mean, it's different schools of thought. You know, a lot of people will say like to turn around, don't go towards the light. It's true and it's false. There are false lights that exist. Like if we get into this topic, I'm gonna get into it just for a little bit because it's deep. It's really deep though. It's deeper than many people understand. Like, so from my understanding, even the God Jehovah is from a collective known as the Giovanni, which is a collective of consciousness that has various souls that can incarnate from it. All of us come from different collectives. Every soul that exists has a higher branch that is attached to. But this particular collective I'm bringing up because, you know, there are people who pray to Jehovah. And if for anybody in here, they may pray to Jehovah. No offense. This is just what I'm aware of, you know, take it with a grain of salt. But because this particular collective had many souls incarnate, and from those souls that incarnated, they started fragmenting and losing awareness of self. So then that Giovanni collective sent more of itself into the lower planes to incarnate. And in so doing, the whole collective fell. And when that collective fell, it now cut itself off in a sense from source. And now it created different pockets to where souls could now exist within. So think about it like this. We all think that heaven is just like one place, but it's not like that. There are many different places where you could travel to within the spiritual world. So if you pray to a particular being, like a Jehovah, so to speak, this being wants to continue existing as the self that it knows. So the way that it's able to do that is to have other beings that are still connected to source that it can feed off of. And the way it's able to feed off of that, those beings, is through prayers and worship. So it creates systems for itself to be worshiped and praised upon. And then when that soul exits the body, it will now draw it towards itself via light, as an example, a false light. So then you'll travel towards this light, and then you'll go to this heavenly realm that Jehovah has created. But you're still being harvested in that particular realm. And and I won't get too much deeper into that because it really is a deep thing, but this is why it's so important to wake up spiritually on a certain level, because many people won't realize that. And then, yeah, you're going to end up reincarnating again and, you know, go through a similar system. But on the positive side, like ultimately, we'll all find our way out of this at some point. But, you know, if you want to find your way out of it sooner than later, then you really got to tap into these practices. But to answer that question more directly, you could turn around and go into the darkness, because what they're really saying there is you no longer want to just incarnate for a while, and a soul can do that. No soul is legitimately trapped. Every soul is still connected to the creator. So if there is a desire strong enough that says, I no longer want to incarnate, I want none of this, I just want to go rest, that's where you would turn around. That's where you'd have the intuition to where you don't have to do that. But if you're still on the evolutionary path, so to speak, and as long as you're paying attention and you tapped into your own intuition, you'll be able to sense the false light from the real light, similar to how there's many of us who were born here that religion just doesn't vibe with us, and we can sense that as a false light intuitively. But there are other people who can't sense that as a false light, so to speak, and they tap in with that. And it's a similar thing. So you'll have to really, you'll go wherever your current evolution is, basically.
Indeed. All right, we're gonna do about 3 more questions. Let's get to this one. I want to get to this one right here. How can we use this energy to elevate to our next level in life?
If you're talking about the chi energy, I mean, I think it goes back more to the practice than the energy itself, because again, the energy is a byproduct of the practice, and the practice is trying to bring you into wholeness. So if you are trying to tap into this energy, you've already started to level up in life, because you're already blocking out many distractions. If you're trying to do this, you're probably not drinking alcohol. If you're trying to do this, you're probably not smoking a lot of weed either. And if you're trying to do this, you probably don't have a lot of free time to do frivolous things. So just by sitting down to do this work, your emotions are going to be far more calm. Your mind is going to be far more calm, and your body's going to be far more calm. So you're already in a state of equilibrium. So I would say that's how it's going to help you reach a new level in life. Because again, the only reason that we do not have the life that we want right now is because we're not honest with ourselves. We aren't living in authenticity. Most of us believe that the external world has influence over us. So the moment that they're telling you that you need to do X, Y, and Z to make money, then you feel like you need to do X, Y, and Z to make money. When we are brought here and we're given free will to create the world that we wanted to create. And for those of us who are brave enough, such as yourself, Rich, you create a channel and you took a chance on yourself when other people did not believe. And now here you are being able to create platforms for people such as myself so that we can keep on pushing onward. So, yeah, I mean, it's just really about being able to tap into your authenticity. So if you don't believe in these things, and this is a part of yourself that you still reject, you probably still think that the physical world is all that there is, and maybe there's no spiritual world whatsoever. But that is also a reflection of your current level of consciousness. But you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely,
Yeah.
Definitely. Somebody want to know about what they said. What happened to the bull? They said, was the bull able to recover? Man, they wanted to know.
It's a good question. It's a good question. A lot of people ask that. Yeah, the bull can recover by like in the next day or so. You know, they just eat food and they be straight. They're not taking enough chi from the bull that it's going to harm the bull. You know, it just taking enough chi that they can do their thing. You know, because again, like they don't have a practice where they believe in harming anything. You know what I'm saying? But they are borrowing energy from that bull. But they're not. They'd probably be taking like, let's say the bull's energy was at 100%. They might take the bull's energy down to like 85%, but the bull will be all right. You know, the bull ain't going to suffer or anything of that nature.
Do they ever just take energy from the so-called empty space around us?
Oh yeah, that's the tried and true practice. You see what I'm saying? The tried and true practice is when you're just meditating, and then as you're meditating, you use the breath to draw in the energy from around us. I mean that, and again, they only did that for the sake of putting it into another person. But in general, they don't do that themselves for themselves. In general, what they would do is what it is that I'm talking about: sitting down, meditating, or doing standing meditations, and then building the energy over time in that manner. It's just that manner takes, you know, a year or 2 years to do it. And they were trying to achieve a particular goal at that time. And that was a way that they could do it in the same day.
Some of y'all came in late. I want to play the bull video because I see some of y'all like, what y'all talking about? So let me play this video with the bull again.
Okay, cool.
No, that's the wrong video, right?
Yeah, it's the wrong video. The bull runs when they outside.
Let me remove. Okay. You know how when you read a book, you if you find out something new each time you read it. I didn't even realize the bull made that noise the first 2 times I watched it. I didn't realize now that the bull made that noise, y'all. Let me watch this one more time. I just realized that. Noise.
Yeah, you know, that's why I figured they was asking about, you know, if the bull was all right. But look, like I got like 5 more videos. On the video I told you I just posted of the bulls up there, and you know, you can see like the bulls.
Where's on your gram? The videos is on your gram?
No, the videos on my YouTube channel.
What's your YouTube channel? Mindofbizzel?
Yeah, the Mindofbizzel, same thing. THB Mindofbizzel, you know.
Okay.
Yep. I'll probably post something on the gram later, but I'm letting it live up on YouTube for real.
Yeah, let's make sure we hit up his gram and check out them videos because that is interesting. That is wow, man. So I wonder, Oh, yeah. Let me get to another question. I'll let y'all ask some of the questions. This is some interesting stuff, y'all. Somebody said, so if you are considered a rebel in your family and you obviously have a different consciousness, how did you come to the same place as them? And when you leave, will you meet back up with them?
I think I understand what the
Okay.
question is.
I understand that. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I think that so. First of all, the consciousness you have here is not the same consciousness that you have when you are deciding to come here. There's a part of ourselves that's always in the heavens that's orchestrating things. So from this standpoint, you might just to segue a little bit real quick. From this standpoint, you might bump into a stranger in the street and y'all have an amazing conversation, and then after that, y'all become friends. But on a soul level, before you ever came into this world, you and that soul had determined that you would bump into each other at said time so that you would be able to have a certain opportunity to explore an emotion or explore an experience.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So because when the soul is not in the incarnated space, it already knows that when you come here, you're going to forget. You're going to cross over the veil. That same veil that makes it hard to remember the dreams. The same veil that makes it hard for you to become aware in the dream state. So souls will make decisions from lifetime to lifetime. As an example, if somebody gets unalived in a particular life, that's not happening by mistake. That's happening as it should. But then when you move out of this particular life, you and that soul will switch places. You'd be like, okay, next lifetime, you can go, and then I'll be the one that gets unalived, or I'll be the one that experiences this particular situation so that I can have an expansion. Because like if you think about it like this, the soul is just like a ball of light. It's just like the sun in the sky. If you look at all the stars in the sky, they're all balls of light. If you go to a graveyard and you see people do photography and they see the souls around, they're all just balls of light. So the reason that people are seeing a tunnel and a light is because that light is the next phase of where you're supposed to evolve to. So all of us are trying to move to the next level. Like you think about like a game, right? You're trying to move to the next level of existence. But the way that you're able to do that is by gaining more light. And what that light looks like is what we call love. So through different catalysts, through having a parent that can be real annoying or a cousin that can get on your nerves, what it does is it gives you an opportunity to become like the Christ, which is to be able to see them and accept them where they are and to understand that although you may see ignorance, you have to forgive them for they know not what they do. No different than Christ said as he carrying the cross and he being beaten and the stones thrown at him. He say, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do, understanding they operate in ignorance. So he was able to understand and see that these people are ignorant and recognize their own ignorance in himself. So when you that rebel in the family, you coming into the family as that person to awaken and share that same information like the Christ did. And the family is asking for you to do that. And the way that it's embedded in you is through your emotional body. Why? Because we know that when we incarnate, we won't have any of our memories, but we do come in with feelings. So you might come in with a feeling as soon as you see a Bible, you'd be like, nah, I ain't rocking with that. And you can't say why. You soon as you see some water, you like, I don't want to go near the water. But you ain't never been near water in this life. But in that previous life, you drowned. You see what I'm saying? But you can't recall that. So it's embedded in you. The stuff that trigger you the most is supposed to be your greatest teacher. The things for you to overcome and learn how to love. And then when you learn how to love that, the soul now expands and the light becomes brighter so that when you do transition, you can match the light that you see. And now you no longer have to incarnate here. You can incarnate in a higher plane of existence.
You know, based on that question, that was a real good question, Natalie. It took me a second to understand where he was coming from. Do you think? Yeah, somebody said I love his answer. Yeah, he been his answers been like very, very, very high frequency. So yeah, shout out to Tigo for this interview. I'm definitely just absorbing the information. But with what Natalie? Let me put Natalie question. Oh God, Natalie, where your question at, Natalie? Okay. But with Natalie question, Tigo, I want to ask you. So you talked about learning to accept your family where they are because y'all like before y'all come here, like, okay, you're gonna play this role, I'm gonna play this role, you're gonna help me ascend to this level by being this type of person. Do you one thing I noticed about a lot of people call themselves high frequency of consciousness that they don't have mates, they're lonely, and that they often are looking for somebody. They always say we always say we want somebody on the same frequency as us. And I asked this question before. I posed this question before, but I don't think I posed to anybody. I just posed it. Should some of us perhaps, instead of looking for somebody on the same frequency, look for somebody that complements us, and maybe they're in a place that we're not in, but we accept where they're at because they're propelling us to another level, or they're allowing us to be who we truly are. And if we was with somebody on the same frequency, we wouldn't be able to see ourselves that clearly.
It's a good question, and it's a layered question though, like because we often think about being with somebody as a mated pair, monogamy, our other half type thing. But the soul is a thing that keep incarnating. So that changes from lifetime to lifetime. Within the life, you have many different partners. So there's no one person that you have to be with or you're supposed to be with for the entire incarnation, but you can be. But the design for something like monogamy is so that you can do spiritual work. Monogamy is actually set up to make you more like the Christ. That's what it is. It's set up so that you can meet somebody else who is going to compliment you in some ways, but in other ways, they're going to trigger you ridiculously. And it's through that contrast, as somebody just said, that it allows for you to see the parts of yourself that you reject. Because if you reject ignorance in somebody else, and it's because you reject ignorance in yourself. So when you act ignorantly, you judge yourself and be like, man, why'd you do that? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what you judge externally, you also judge internally. You haven't made room for it in yourself. Right. So, damn, went off on a little tangent there. What was the original part of the question? I want to make sure I answer it fully.
Well, basically, I was talking about finding somebody, people could.
Oh yeah, just like on the equally yoked path. That's right. So what it is we're always gonna have attraction, and the goal is to move with the attraction, because the attraction is what's teaching you. Curiosity is always going to lead you to your highest path the fastest, right? You're curious because there's something drawing you towards it. So when you are finding that person that is in contrast with you, it's going to help you grow faster. But the whole thing is to teach you how to love yourself. It's to teach you that you don't need anything, because we're going in a relationship trying to gain something, right? We're trying to gain some companionship, gain some love, gain some affection. That's what we're all looking for in some degree to gain. But when you are fully connected, your cup runneth over, as they say. You are connected to love itself. Therefore, all you have is to give, because love is what? It's a forward motion. Love is about what you can offer, not about what you can take. So it's designed so that you can evolve faster spiritually. So once the soul reaches a space where it's no longer looking for love, is the moment that you attract those who are in the same space that's not looking for love. And those are now two people who are more highly evolved. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Anytime we're in that space of seeking, you're only seeking what it is that you don't have. So you're really in the space of lack if you're in the space of seeking. So the moment that you're in the space of I have everything, now what do you align with? Abundance.
Mm-hmm. Tigo got that wisdom, y'all. He like the black Buddha, y'all. This dude is like the black Buddha, y'all. He ain't just coming here with intellectual jargon. He got that wisdom. I appreciate that, man. Listen,
it's a long time coming, bro.
Fire show, man. I really appreciate this. I really appreciate you sharing the videos. I'm definitely gonna head over to your YouTube channel tonight, and the YouTube channel is
the Mindofbizzel.
Okay, all right. We're gonna check. Mind. That's how you say it, Bizzel.
Yeah.
Okay. In my mind, I was saying Bizzle.
Bizzel. Yeah, it's Bizzel. Yeah, it's all good.
Excellent. Yeah, we gonna check that out. But listen, man, tell the people how else they could contact you. We know you're gonna be in Atlanta June 28th at the Stone Mountain Hike. But besides that, how can they get in touch with you, my brother?
Yeah, for sure. You can send an email to the mindofbizzel@gmail.com. You could go to Instagram or TikTok, the Mindofbizzel, or YouTube is the same situation. And you can click the link tree if you want to book something, a one-on-one meditation, any of those things. But to be honest, you know, I got a lot of tools that's on the YouTube page. If you tap in, you can utilize light body activations, material success, affirmations, different things of that nature, and just a lot of good stuff. But to utilize it more effectively, you know, I say at least book the consultation so we can talk. And if a person wants more one-on-one guidance on a spiritual level, you know, they can also do that by clicking the link tree, and it's on all the platforms everywhere. So. But yeah, man, I'm here, y'all. You know, I'm going live on my Instagram a couple times a week, and I go live on the YouTube as well. And I just build with the community.
Indeed, man. Well, listen, man, I appreciate you coming on the show tonight. I'm gonna give me about a day or two. I'm gonna give you update, and send you the flyer for the Stone Mountain hike.
Yeah.
But definitely the family is going down June 20th. The brother will be in Stone Mountain, Georgia. So I look forward to that. I'm sure some of y'all want to chop it up with him in person. With that being said, I want to thank everybody for tuning into the program tonight. We are getting out of here. Everybody, have a good night.
Much love, y'all.
Peace, my brother.
Peace, brother.